Recording. Okay. We are now live and recording. So if you want to change your name, change your child's name, the way I'm utilizing these calls is they are in the membership site for the members, for anybody that is participating. I'm also going to be sending out documents for everybody to sign saying I know it's recorded and it's okay, just to get all my ducks in a row as well. So giving you guys a heads up on that. And so if you hit unmute, we'll be able to hear you. As you come right back in, I've got it set up so it's muting so that sound doesn't mess anybody up. And I am going to rock and roll. This is Dr. Beth, America's teenologist, and we are talking today with parents around the world, around the globe. We're talking about teens, children, how to bridge that gap between the parents and the kids. We have one young, brave adult that is here to keep me in line. Robert is my right arm. I'm still looking for a girl that's willing to keep me in check. I've put the word out to a bunch of the young women. Hi, Christine. Welcome to the call. I've put the word out to a bunch of young women. So if you know any young teen leaders, young adults that want to participate, be in on this conversation. We meet on Tuesdays at 12 o'clock. And then this call is recorded and it will be in the membership. So today, what I'd like to do is, first of all, right before the call started, we were talking about boys versus girls and how exactly identical we all are. Can we all agree on that?
I don't know about that.
That would be a definitely not. I was telling everybody that when I was doing my internship in my doctoral program, I had this hallucination that everything that happened with girls and boys was all socially done. And that if we just treated the girls with the same level of blah, 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 and the boys with the same level of blah, 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 I am completely convinced after doing my internship that boys are just hardwired. They come in like little rock stars, busting things up, physical, banging. Now, this is not true of all boys. Are you giving us money, Christine? This is not true of all girls. This is just that the vast majority of the kids that come to into this world, they're hardwired in a certain way. And I wanted to just see what your take is on this. Amy, you've had a little bit of each. So what's your take? Have you seen any of that hardwired girl-boy thing?
Well, I think so. My daughter's been pretty sassy from the word go, and she's all into dresses and shoes. And my son is making guns out of things that, so they're 3. That was kind of wild. I was like, and he wants swords, and so he knows he's not supposed to hit his sister, so he pinches her instead. But there's definitely there's definitely a difference, but she's not necessary. I haven't decided she's 100% girl yet. She may have a little bit of her mother in her.
Right on. Well, I came in and I wanted a cowboy outfit, not a cowgirl outfit. I was one of the best scoopers on the softball field. They called me vacuum cleaner. Nothing hit the ground if it came near me. My dad was constantly saying, let the other kids catch the ball. I was, ball hog all over the place. So, I think some of it is in what we come in with. But in the grand scheme of things, I have not seen such a and Robert was talking about having Robert, you want to talk about your dance party?
So me and my good friend, we we have this music. It's really loud and very aggressive. And we'll play it on our the car radio, and then we'll like park the car in like a back parking lot, and then just beat the shit out of each other.
Go figure. We may need to have a conversation about that, Robert. Just you and I offline on self-care, self-love, and it could just be a boy thing. You know, sometimes the self-love just goes right over my head on how boys love on each other with just physical brute force. But they just find it fun to punch each other. I don't know. Josh, I don't know if you're willing to come in on this one, but would love your take, because right now the girls are outweighing the boys, and we don't want to overpower Robert.
It's been that way ever since humans have been recorded, that men are aggressive and women are loving. It's just
so can you understand the punching thing? I mean, is that like something you get?
Absolutely. I have boys.
It's therapeutic.
Therapeutic. All right.
It helps you make better decisions because you get it out of your system, and you can think a little more clearly because you've kind of just let it out. And there has to be a healthy way to let it out, in my opinion. So might as well do it with a friend instead of some random stranger.
Okay. So Christine, your boys are not as brute force physical like this, are they? You're on mute. Not yet.
Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. I don't know how I ended up in Dr. Beth's parenting calls, but okay, I'm here. So
I guess Spirit led you here.
I looked down and it said, "Please join my Zoom call." I thought you were dancing again, girl.
Oh, that's funny. That happens tonight, 7 to 9.
Oh, okay. I got to get my Zoom call straight. So the question is, because I was walking, please close that again. It was about, our boys just wired that way with aggression? Was that the question?
Yeah, wondering, say the age of your two boys.
My boys are now almost 21 and 19.
And would you say they just love punching each other? Is that
No, that really wasn't something that they were raised in, you know? So I think there's like a cultural difference here, because my friends who had two boys, a lot of them hit and hurt each other growing up. Like that was the rite of passage, being a brother. But we didn't really allow that, though there was some secretive punching of Sammy punching Koji. But for the most part, that wasn't the way they were raised or brought up. And they tend to use their brain a little bit more than their physicality, even now.
All right, so this is going to be a lifelong debate, and it's a challenging one for me, because like Robert, one of the things that I want to do is protect you from being hurt, and I hear you, Josh, that it is like it's just the way a lot of the men roll. And I also hear Christine that, you know, when in a different culture, it can also be moved in a different direction. So I think there has to be some opportunity for conversation here.
Of course.
Amy has a boy and a girl, 3. And Amy, how old is your oldest son? We lost you, Amy. What about you, Kristen? What's your take on this?
I have a 4-year-old that wants to, trample everything basically, and is high energy and is very much the male typical aggressive. And he's to the point where I noticed that, like, at 3-4 years old, he would see commercials on cartoons. Like, he was watching Cartoon Network, and there would be commercials for toys, and he'd be like, "That's a girl toy. I don't want that. That's a boy toy. I want that." He was very, very explicit. But
some of that, the question is that ingrained in our society, from radio, from TV, from commercials?
It could be influenced, but it also seemed very natural to him. Like he just was always that way. And I remember my son being like that too, you know, before he was watching TV at 8, 9, 1.5 years, he was into trains. He loved anything that moved. You know, he was all boy. But now the 13-year-old is going through puberty and very sensitive and always want to hug, and he's very different now. So yeah.
And I think it's really important that we create some space that the boys get to talk about. Go, Robert.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think like as far as the topic of like understanding like the like what's for boys and what's for girls, like that whole topic. I mean, children at like early ages, like as early as like 3, are able to determine effeminate and masculine things in life based on colors.
Yes, and another aspect of this is this whole transgender and the whole conversation of it, he, she, and taking it out of the male, female, and the masculine role and the feminine role. So I think it's a delicate subject, one, to love people where they are. And if Robert and Josh get energy and fun and passion and pleasure and joy, and they feel healthy and they feel loved, then letting them have that. Coming to you 1 second. And giving that space. And then if somebody is a boy, but sees and feels like a girl and has more sensitive energy and feelings, also to have compassion and love and space for that. Go ahead, Christine.
Can you hear me? I don't know if I'm speaking or not. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So my thing about raising children in general, whether it be role defined by society or inside the family, it's, the bottom line is, one of the things for me that I always disagreed with was when my friends would call their little boys little men. They're like 2 and 3 and they're little men. And I would say, oh my gosh, they're little boys and they need to be loved on and hugged and kissed and acknowledged, just like that little girl who gets all of that emotional support. And I think that's really the bottom line, whatever your sex is, to be able to have, because your emotions drive you. They provide you the emotional intelligence and the ability to be socialized in a way that's nurturing and loving, versus having these defined rules about how we need to treat our children. We need to treat our children with love and always with acknowledgement and being seen, no matter what. It doesn't matter your sex. Doesn't matter.
Yes, and I completely concur. Love across the board, nurturing across the board, giving them and accepting where they are across the board. And I have many, many parents that I know that didn't let their kids watch TV, didn't let their kids touch guns, didn't let their kids have any of the social male, female insignia. I have 2 cousins that are 2 women that are raising a girl, and their girl, one of them is a boxer. My cousin they're both doctors, and my cousin is masculine as can be, and their daughter is the most girly girl on the planet. I mean, the most girly girl. So, and then I know other people that have, don't let the boys touch guns, don't let them touch anything, quote, aggressive, and they turn a stick into a gun, like Amy was saying. They turn anything and everything into a sword, a gun, and they're doing everything to keep violence out of their homes. So,
well, I don't know that necessarily turning a stick into a gun is violent, but it's pre-wired, whether your femaleness and your maleness, it's wired into your genetic coding. That's why we have sexes. So to say behaviorally that it's not going to show up, that's probably not a real proposition for that to be totally devoid. There are just things that are innately wired into your DNA. That's why women have XX chromosome. That's why men have an XY chromosome.
Yes, and a lot of women that look like women don't have the right chromosomes, and a lot of men who look like men don't have the right chromosomes. So just because we have an expectation of a hardwired whatever, one of the things that has to be so in my world order that has to be so critical to keep this bridge between the sexes, to keep the bridge between Democrats and Republicans, to keep the bridge between older and younger, is that we keep listening lovingly to each other. And I'm willing to be wrong about everything. And if we're all willing to be open and receiving and listening, then we can stay connected. Josh,
Yeah.
Josh, do you have a take on this?
Well, I mean, my opinion is that we are who we are, and I think that's all predetermined. Like you can't help what you like. Like if you wake up one day and you're like, I like cheeseburgers, you can't help it. You just like cheeseburgers, and nobody should ever try to change your mind on what you like.
There's that, yeah.
Right? They should just go, hey, this is what you like. Cool. Let's figure out what we can do to help you with this. Right? If you like it, how we can kind of foster that, help you learn more about yourself and your identity, who you are, what you like, what you don't like. And if you're predetermined as an aggressive person, because you like aggression, some of us are wired that way. And we just need to find proper outlets to kind of channel that so that it's done in a safe and productive way that doesn't really mess others or yourself up. As well as if you're a sensitive kid, you need to learn ways to channel that sensitivity so that you can get through life and not have problems with yourself and with others and everything else. So I think it's, no matter what the path is, we all just got different things we need to learn, and we are wired how we're wired.
So just for grins, let me play devil's advocate as another parent. This is not my position, but this is a position I hear from a lot of parents. So Josh, what if I say it's my job and it's my responsibility to shape my child? It's my job and it's my responsibility to instill values. It's my job to create the child the way I think the child should be created. What's your take? Christine's shaking her head no. What's your take, Josh?
Nope.
Well, my take as a parent and my philosophy is it's not my job to shape my child. My job is to figure out what my child's personality is and help cultivate that and say, hey, I want you to be successful. You are this type of person. What can we do to help you mold you into something that can be all right, let's go.
It's
not my job to say you have to do this. That's not right.
I'm not even as concerned about the success part, because I think all our job as a parent, and this is something my ex-mother-in-law told me when my child was a baby, the only job you have is to love. Just love them and give them all the love that you can. And I mean, it's not going to make everything all right, but that's our job as parents, is to love and support and give them the things they need to be healthy, happy human beings and productive and valuable members of society. But that starts with parents, the love of a parent.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the non-parent in the room. Robert, what's your take on this? What's the role of the parent? Should they shape you? Should they instill their values? What's your take?
I think as far as the role of the parent, well, they should instill values. Instilling values is always important. Same thing with morals. Instilling morals is extremely important, because a lot of times, if you instill the wrong types of morals, children will learn what's right and wrong in different aspects, like borrowing money or something like that, something silly like that, or gambling, like little things that you might not think it's just something small. Like, for example, my grandfather, he does a lot of gambling as far as horse tracks, and he goes to casinos a lot, and he takes my brother to the racetrack. And I'm sure it sounds like a little funny thing, pick a little horse name and we'll put $2 down, you get this. But sometimes those things, you know, it's like, oh, gambling's a good thing. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it could be wrong, or it's a small example, and I'm sure it's not as in depth as I'm making it sound. But it's instilling values and morality is extremely important. Now, trying to shape their future and trying to shape them in a direction that you want them headed becomes a problem, because then it becomes a selfish action. Because now you're worried about I'm sorry, you can go.
No, go. I was just telling Christine we'll come to her in a second.
Yeah, instilling. If you try to shape your child's future and try to put them on a path or put them on a linear path, two things can happen. You'll get angry at them, or you'll get frustrated with them when they're not following the path that you've aligned for them. And another thing too is a lot of times they don't want to follow that path because they don't want to listen to their parents, because it's a form of rebellion that every child has to go through. Every child has to rebel against their parents. Rules are meant to be broken, especially by a parent. You don't want to follow that path. Why should you follow that path? Who are they? You know what I mean? It's a frustrating thing when you're a parent and a child to go through both of those things when your parents set a line for you.
Okay. All right. Christine, what's your take?
My take is that, you know, love is the first thing. So when they're little and they're growing, that you treat them with that kind of respect, and you give them kindness, and you show them compassion, and all those other things, that, you know, the morals, the values, all of those are passed on by you modeling that. So, you know, to get into this idea that you're going to control the outcome of your child, that's an illusion. You know, if you cannot see the child as the nature of the child as they're growing and meet them there, then when they start to become, you know, middle schoolers and teenagers and they become adults, they have no sense of self. So the first thing to teach them is their sense of self and who they are, and that they're valuable, and that they're seen and they're acknowledged. And then the rest of it sort of falls into place, right? But if you as a parent can't be a leader in that conversation, well, then you definitely have a problem, because your kids have nothing to hold on to understand that, you know, this is the way that you can be operating in the world. And that's why so many people as adults, are so confused and lost, because they never found themselves. They don't know themselves. That's the biggest thing you can teach your kids. Who are you? What do you stand for? And what's important to you? And all the rest of it's going to work itself out.
And one of the things I loved about what you just said, Christine, is all three of those things were questions. All three of the things you just said were questions to the child. Who are you? What do you stand for? And what do you want to live into? Who do you want to be? It's all about helping them find themselves.
Exactly, yeah.
And I believe that as well, that when I trust a child, and this has been as young as 2 years old.
Yep.
When they talk with me, if I ask the right questions, 100% of the time they come to an answer that feels in alignment with my higher self answer.
Right.
Like even to the question of, do you want to go to school? If I get myself out of the conversation, every single child I've had this conversation with, to a child, has come up with what was their best life course for themselves.
Right. Well, and I think what you just said, it's about alignment. When you teach children what that means when they're very young, that's where they instill their confidence. That's where they understand that they don't have to be bullied, that they're not the victim of someone else. But when you have a very highly, you know, type A parent who's in control, and they needed to look a certain way, that's when those kids get messed up, because they don't know how to stand for themselves. They're always having somebody tell them, this is what you think, this is the way you need to be, this is how you need to show up. The greatest gift you can give as a parent is to teach them, this is what alignment feels like for you. This is what balance feels like for you. This is your ability to speak your truth. Never let an adult tell you what your truth is.
Yes, yes, yes. And I've also experienced the other side of that same coin. So there's two sides of that coin. One side is the aggressive, the hyper controlling. The other side of the coin is people pleasing. And one of these days I'm going to write a book called The Hell of Being Raised by a Perfect Parent. Because
that's an oxymoron.
Yes, yes. Because as a child, my mom was divine. She was perfect. She wanted to be perfect. She lived for me. She did everything for me. And what that meant was I'm supposed to do the same thing back. I'm supposed to live for her. I'm supposed to do everything for her. I'm supposed to read her mind and please her and please others. And so I did not learn what I felt and what I needed.
Right. Well, I think right there is the example. So if you have an extremely controlling parent, or you have this idea that you need to be your kid's friend or perfection in parenting, the truth of it is it's balance. You know, it's not one way or another. You do need to be able to give your kids boundaries and be an authority in their life and be a leader. And you also need to be their friend and be compassionate and speak words of greatness. It's not one or the other. And that's where alignment is really found in understanding where you are in that spectrum. At least that's my opinion.
Okay, yes, and I love that opinion. That's fantastic. As long as there's room for everybody else to have a completely counter opinion.
Sure. I mean, I can only see the results in my own kids. And Beth, you know, I was more authoritative than I was compassionate. I've just learned and unveiled that part of myself recently. But, you know, my kids speak to me and tell me, these things were hard. I didn't really like that, but you always loved us. We always knew that you loved us.
Yes. And let me tell you this. I think I turned out fantastic, even with everything my mom did. And I know your kids have turned out fantastic, even though anything and everything you've done. So we are still the strength of whatever happens to us and whatever we experience. And then we learn again. Amy, what's your take on this conversation? Boys versus girls, controlling as parenting versus allowing as parenting, our job to instill value.
I have to go. I'm sorry. I got a doctor's thing. I got to go. Love you.
Bye. So glad you joined us.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Amy, what's your take?
I think I very much agree with a lot of what Christina just that find a child's ability to find their own balance or find their own the ability to listen to themselves and decide for themselves what they need and what they want and how to determine between the two, you know, is something that happens really early. And it doesn't mean that we can't guide them more later when they're in a more rational state, but between the ages of 2 and 5, I think they're really learning how to listen to themselves, how to understand what alignment feels like. And sometimes that's very counterintuitive as a parent, because you know your child screaming because they want something, and you know giving it to them versus forcing them to align with your will is all the difference. I have people that think my husband and I are crazy because right now we've got 2 little kids who we get into a lot. You know, we're letting them have their way a lot because it's not dangerous. And even if it is, my daughter fell off the counter the other day, and that was something she needed to do again, apparently, to learn, you know, the boundary of the counter, you know, and how to be safe and how to make decisions for her own safety. And then I think as kids get older, once they have that sense of who they are and how aggressive they can be with their experiences, not with other people, but you know, with I'm super type A personality and I'm outgoing and I'm aggressive and I'll talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime, you know, so that's me, but teaching your kids, letting your kids figure out who they are when they're real little gives them that ability to go forward in a comfortable manner, not being too scared to try new things, too scared to do new stuff.
Yeah. When I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think as they get past the stage of toddlerhood, 5, 6, that's when you can kind of start modeling the behavior, like where we were talking about gambling, where, modeling the behavior you hope to see in your children. But it's not, I came to this realization a while ago, you don't mold children. They're not Play-Doh. They have their own lives. They have their own paths. They have their own alignment. You don't mold them, but you help them unfold themselves into who they are. And a lot of times that has to do with modeling good behavior. You don't let your spouse beat up on you, so that it doesn't teach your children that it's okay to be abused or abusive. Moderation, teaching your the way that you want them to go, but doing it gently through behavior, and not the pointing the finger. And I don't know, my husband said something that was interesting too. He says he doesn't think that aggression is necessarily hardwired. He thinks it's something that we have foisted upon us, ingrained into you by watching TV and by watching, so it's more programming. He thinks that, aggression is more of a programming thing than a hardwired thing. Although I do personally believe that we're all hardwired to a certain degree for our main proclivities, but then it's the world around us and it's the experiences that we have that help us to fine tune that.
Yeah, you're bringing the conversation right back to the beginning of the call, which is perfect, because the beginning of this call is male versus female hardwired, or is it brought on by society? I had the same opinion that your husband had, that, it's definitely society driven, it's blah, blah, blah. And after I did years of my internship, there are some things with the majority of boys that are just boy things. Given parents that have done everything they could to keep kids away from TV, keep kids away from homeschool, keep kids away from anything that could have put them in that mold, and they still turn everything into a gun. They still turn everything into a sword. They still turn everything into a physical playing physicality thing. So, and then there are also boys, and this is, like Christine, she has 2 boys that are a lot more introverted and sensitive than some other boys that are hardwired to be more physical, like Robert and maybe Josh. So what I want to bring the conversation back to is, let's keep this conversation open. And anytime I think I've got the answer, that's when I get in trouble. Anytime I think I figured this thing out, and my way and my highway and my rules apply to all children and all parents, that's when I'm screwed, blued, and tattooed. Go ahead, Robert.
I feel like I should explain a little bit more into the fighting in the parking lot thing, because I feel like I didn't really dwell on the whole story about that. But now that everyone's like, oh, Robert's like, cracking skulls out in parking lots, but no, like what happened was, I was a pacifist for God knows how long in my life, probably until I want to say maybe senior year or first year of college. I didn't want to fight anyone. People used to pick on me. Like, there's a lot of people used me as a doormat. People would pick on me. I'd be like, oh, words can't hurt me, or something like that. Or, people would like fight me and be like, that's not the answer. And and I'd just whatever walk away and just get abused in that way. And it took me a while to realize the understanding that I'm not a doormat and trying to get over that. And then as I, grew up more and more, I realized that as I grew up more and more, I realized I missed out on a lot of the aggression as a child, like the ability to get into silly little fights or roughhousing with kids. And it's not like I'm trying to reenact that now that I'm 21, but it's therapeutic in a way that for guys at least, and this is probably only for guys, but
and some girls.
Maybe some girls. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said probably only. But it's therapeutic in the way that it's that aggression that you have and that pent up anger or something you just want to just like. Some days you're just like not even angry, but you just want to beat the shit out of something. Like you just want to like just pummel something, or even get pummeled yourself. Just take pain. And let that.
Did that happen later? Let me understand. That happened later in your life, like 18, 19, 20?
Yeah, I did not get into a single scuffle growing up. I didn't fight anyone. I avoided all confrontation. I even when people would like curse me out or something or make fun of me, like throw water on me or something, I'd be like, oh, it's fine. Like I wouldn't bother with it. I mean, I don't get into fights like every day now. Like I'm not. Cruising.
But you're much more aggressive than you were at a younger age.
I wouldn't say that. I think I definitely have learned to stand up for myself, though. I think I definitely have realized the importance of not being a doormat.
See, I would say that happens with my son because he has those tendencies of, he lets the 4-year-old beat up on him. It's funny, but not funny. But so I'm hoping that at some point I can model and teach him to start standing up for himself, not necessarily physically, but just be more confident and aggressive.
I think
so let me jump. Let me jump in here 1 second, Robert. And this is for all parents. Again, I like kind of stretching the envelopes in multiple directions. What do you do if a child is hurting themselves? Like what if this Fight Club experience became an experience where bones were getting broken, where cuts were being, what if it was hurting and abusing and non-recoverable of your body? At what point would a parent come in and stop the experience? And Josh, I'd love your take on this too.
So my opinion is, if my boys were out looking to be aggressive, I wouldn't let them just bare knuckle themselves or put themselves into a spot. Well, I guess let me back this up.
How old are your kids, Josh?
So 17 boy, 12-year-old girl, 4-year-old boy, 1-year-old boy. And the 2 older are adopted and the 2 younger are biological.
Okay.
So, the 17-year-old, he's into parkour, like we talked about previously, and being physical. He can get hurt, right? You could very easily fall off the side of a building and hurt yourself. So, it's for me trying to do my best of, okay, you want to punch things, and let's put you into boxing. And you put gloves on and you get into a structured environment and you learn how to properly do it, not just wildly swinging and just kind of letting yourself hurt, but let me help foster the right environment for you to still get your aggression out, but doing it properly so that you're not hurting others and you're not hurting yourself.
Or Taekwondo, so that you're doing
Anything.
it,
Yeah.
with a sense of honor and respect for.
With an instructor that's teaching you. So
and learning both self-control as well as full self-expression.
And having structure.
Robert, what's your take on that?
It's interesting. I mean, like I never went into anything like that because, like I said, I was pacifist. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to lay a fist on anyone. But it's the theory, like the whole rolling back to like getting hurt and stuff like that, and then following into the structure and like keeping safe. Like getting hurt is breaking bones and cuts and stuff like that. That's a serious thing. That can be a problem because then you have to, you're dealing with medical stuff and stuff like that. You got casts involved. That's an issue. When you have, and that depends entirely on the activity. Like the activity for me, it's literally just fists and it's just bruises. It's really it. And it's not even like we're blowing each other, like we're not punching each other in the head. Like we're just straight fisticuffs, get a couple bruises here and there, but it's no big deal. But I don't know. For me, like I learned that when you have that type of pain and that type of it's that adrenaline rush, and especially as a young adult male, I guess, it's that adrenaline rush of like, you know, instead of dropping all of that, like everything you were taught, like, you know, stay safe, and like dropping everything that you were taught of like, you know, let's, you know, put on some gloves or do it in a controlled environment, and then just dropping everything, you know, putting on really loud music, and then just going at it with each other, and then just afterwards just like patting each other on the back and like going to get some coffee or something, like dropping everything that society has taught you, dropping all the safety rules and everything that society has tried to bring you up upon, like the safety of yourself, dropping it for 10 minutes, going buck wild on each other, and then going to get coffee after and just being like, yeah, that was fun. And then
so there's a little bit of structure in that. There is structure, and it's like, go ahead, Amy.
I would try to say this before I forget. There's something there's an element of safety that Robert is experiencing with that person. He's not just picking a fight with some random stranger out the street. He's dealing with his aggression that I think to a certain extent, most boys have a natural aggression, and they do have a natural energy towards the aggressive things. That's masculinity. That's testosterone. That's normal. And I think that there's something about what Robert's saying that to me screams he's found a way to deal with his need for that aggression with somebody who he trusts, and there's a safety there that they can say, okay, we're going to do this till the song's over, and then they walk away. And then I think there's something to be said for him finding that ability to be safe.
Yeah, that's structure and rules is what it sounds like, right?
Well, and let me also bring in another taboo topic. We've talked about this in the past, trying to get a conversation between parents and young adults and children about sex. What about S&M?
I don't like it.
So you don't, and there are some people who do, and I know in that, as a therapist, again, this is another one of these things that I had in my mind, that anybody that would do S&M had a clinical, psychological, whatever. And I've done a little bit of research on this. I've talked with a lot of people that have, let themselves go in that direction. And sometimes it is a self-deprecating experience. Sometimes it is a re-traumatizing of a past rape or a past sexual molest, and it's a way they're redoing that in their mind. It's a little bit like a child that plays the same Tubby Telly song over and over and over, like 45,000 times. They want to hear the exact same song. Do you know why they do that?
Comfort.
Comfort? Amy, you have any ideas?
Obsession.
I think
Obsession. It feels that way, doesn't it, Josh?
I have small kids. Trust me, I hear it all the time.
Well, and it's a way. It's actually a tool for them to learn cause and effect. So I know when I do this, that this is going to happen. I know when this happens, then that happens. And it's a way that their brain is learning something and giving them comfort. So, again, with all of these different topics and all of these different taboos and all these things that we all get rigid in, my way or the highway, this is just black and white, this is just wrong. What I'm inviting all of us to do is when you get bumped up against something that is, non-negotiable for you, or you just think is wrong, like this is just wrong. When you get bumped up against that, I invite you, challenge you, double dog dare you to get curious. Ask questions. And two things will happen. One of the many things might happen. One is you might actually enlighten the other person into a new position and a new if your way is healthy, maybe a new healing, a new possibility, a new help, new way of looking at things. Or you may get enlightened and be more connected to more people and have more understanding with more people. The reason I'm bringing up these conversations right now is because, just as Robert said, part of the teenage role, part of the teenage thrill, is to find the rules and break them. To find the things that are not supposed to be okay and defy that and find ways to make it okay. Go ahead, Robert.
I think that's partially due to the fact that when you're at that age in life, especially when you're a teenager, I think it's partially due to the fact that when you see these rules, you see these lists of things that you're supposed to follow, this type of order, and at that age, you're very curious. You start questioning things. You start questioning your parents. You start questioning a lot of your superiors. You're like, well, why are they there and why aren't I there? So when you start questioning these rules, you're like, I wonder why this rule exists. It's a stupid rule. I'm going to break the stupid rule that I've deemed stupid. Then you break the rule. You get hurt in the end. You're like, oh, it was a good rule. Now I know it's a good rule. And then you do that for every single thing that you've been told not to do, or every single rule that you've done. And every time you get hurt, you're like, yeah, that's a good rule. Every time you don't get hurt, you're like, yeah, it was a stupid rule. And you learn that as your life goes on, and you realize where people are wrong, where people aren't.
I love it. I love it. You're so articulate, Robert. One of the things, and by the way, this is in the membership site, and I'm going to be rolling out some 1-minute videos. Have any of you seen my videos on YouTube yet?
No.
So I'm going to be rolling out more of these. I'm going to do a video in the morning and then a Facebook Live talking about the video at night. And I would love, love, love and appreciate if you guys would help, make comments and share and get the word out. But one of the things that I talk about is the benefits of defiance. And I have 10 benefits of defiance. And this one is right in alignment with what Robert just said. I can't commit to my authentic yes without the guilt-free choice to say no. Does that make sense?
It's a little confusing, I'll tell you that. I'll be honest.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, it's very confusing, and it's backwards to one of the to things that we have been doing in life. So I can't be authentic and choose yes until I break the rules and choose no.
If you feel guilty about saying no, then when you say yes, it's not because you really want to.
Correct. And this is what happens. When I say yes and it's not my authentic yes, unconsciously I sabotage it. Like, let's say I say, yeah, I'll be at the 12 o'clock call. And I don't want to be at the 12 o'clock call. So I'm going to unconsciously completely sabotage myself. I may take the wrong turn. I may get the wrong exit. I may, inadvertently forget. Put myself in total denial and forget. And I truly did forget because I put myself in total denial. Like, I created the forgetting so that I'm so good at it, I forgot that I forgot. And I did it. I chose it. So it's absolutely essential and critical that the children, the teenagers, can say to our face anything and everything. Same thing with little ones, Amy. If you want to know the truth, we have to be willing and handle and able to take it. So if I got chocolate all around my mouth and you say, did you eat chocolate? What do you think I'm going to say?
No.
No. Well, if you're stupid enough to not know, I'm not going to give myself up. Just the fact that you asked the question, there's a possibility I have a 50-50 chance that you don't know.
yesterday I told my son, I said, I love you. And he said, I don't love you. And I went, oh, just for fun, because he didn't hurt my feelings. What is, but my daughter came in who repeatedly tells me she doesn't love me. She came right over and she said, you hurt mommy's feelings. And it was funny. I didn't indicate really, other than my little, but it was interesting to see, because they're not hurting my feelings. I know they don't really know, but what I've been watching is at this age where they're learning how to be nice. They're learning how to be not nice, because we don't know what nice and not nice are. That's not something you're born knowing. You have to be taught these things. If you don't know how to be not nice, you don't know how to be nice. So
Yes.
we're working on that, but what's funny, because she's the one who's always telling me I don't love you, to come in and rescue me from him when
That's
he said
adorable.
it. So
That is adorable. That is adorable.
I
So
gotta get
I
going.
love,
I
Go
gotta
ahead,
get going.
Josh.
Sorry, I have to get going, but just want to say thanks.
Josh, what's your takeaway from today?
My takeaway from which part? This conversation derailed many different ways.
Yeah, what's your takeaway from this conversation?
From which part of the conversation?
Anyone you want to pick. What's anything valuable that you got from this experience?
Probably the most valuable, I'll just say, is that definitely instills that, boys are aggressive and sometimes they're not, and it's totally normal.
So accepting and acknowledging and being okay, being a man, being a boy, and having boys. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, good to have that. Cool. Well, loved having you here. And I'm just going to go around the room and wrap up and give everybody a chance to say their takeaway, and then we'll call it a wrap. So you need to jump. Josh, go for it. Amy, what's your takeaway?
I think Robert's description of his coming later in life to the aggression, but in a safe way, is something that I'm going to be thinking about for a while, because I do think that boys need masculinity and boys need to get that. They have, I don't want to say hardwired, but I do think there's something different about girls and boys more often than not. And I think that having that ability to express that aggression safely is something that I want to take away and ponder and maybe discover how to foster my son's safe, aggressive, in a safe way. Find him a safe outlet for the aggression that he will feel.
I love it. Woohoo! What about you, Kristen? What's your takeaway?
I think the acceptance of the differences, boys come on there's a spectrum, I guess. You can have sensitive boys, you can have aggressive boys. It's all wonderful. It's all, as parents, we just have to accept it all and keep loving our child and, keep doing what we need to do. But I think it's the acceptance part.
I like it. Yes. If we can do that in all of life with everything, it's going to heal so much of the aggression and pain and hurt and destruction that we are in. Anytime we can come into it via love. What about you, Robert? What's your takeaway?
That sometimes I have a hard time explaining my Fight Club scenarios.
I thought you did a fantastic job explaining it, and hopefully you felt accepted and loved and appreciated, and we're intrigued, and we also care that you're safe.
Don't worry, I'll be safe. The bruises are healthy bruises.
Okay. Well, we guys play football and get bruises. Guys play. We do all sorts of things, and we do crazy things to our body. So some of us are more sensitive
you gotta
to
battle
that.
hard in yourself.
Right. Well, my takeaway is that I love the conversation. I love I'm so appreciative of everybody's willingness to listen to each other and I'm, I never know where this conversation is going to go. I am inviting and challenging you guys and everybody that's listening to this call afterwards. If there are some particular topics that you want me to go into, or if I get 4 or 5 topics, I'll chop the session into all of those topics and make sure everybody has a turn. So I'm also planning to bring in a couple of guest speakers to help with a couple of different things. One person's going to talk about finances and how to talk with kids about money, and making sure that conversation, I'm going through an experience right now. I'm very aware of it, because they say what you save at this age with compound interest is like, I'd have $9 million in the bank if I did what I'm doing now at age 17, 18, whatever. And so just ways to do that and teach our kids these concepts at a really super early age. Coming to you 1 second, Robert. Another thing, I've got a family that's going to Disneyland through the holidays, and I was talking to him about how to take, is actually Dane. That's why he's not able to be here today. Taking money and then saying 25 has to be used on you, 25 has to be used on somebody else, 25 has to be done any way you want to do it with, and 25 has to be done with whatever, savings or contribution or whatever. So teaching kids how to manage money at a younger age in a playful area. So that's going to be something that's coming up. I'll keep you guys posted as when that's about to happen. Go ahead, Robert.
I was going to say that talking about finances, I think a good topic is teaching your kid the value of a dollar, because growing up, I have friends, or I have people that I know that still don't understand the value of a dollar, and I understand it too much, because I'll have friends that'll just throw money to the wayside, and I'll be like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, you know how many sandwiches you can buy with that? Like, you got to get, that's food money. Or something, I'll be like, they'll go out and buy, they're like, oh yeah, I'll buy this $5, what is it, the naked drinks, the smoothies. I'm like, why would you buy that? You could buy a Arizona for $1, save yourself $4. I have too much of a value of a dollar at this point in my life.
Right. Excellent. Well, we will definitely bring you in on that conversation to find the different angles of it. I'll keep you guys posted. And then I have another person that wants to bring in some tools and resources through oils for ADHD, emotion control, focus, and a whole bunch of other things. So going to give some input on that. And if anybody has, and then I'm going to bring Suzanne back. She didn't get to come in, but she had a lot of information on keeping your child safe through technology. And she wasn't able to get on the call. So I'll find some time to bring her back and make that happen as well, because I thought that was going to be great when I was on the cruise ship. So you guys have a fabulous week. Let you know that I'm doing dance parties for women in the mornings 8 to 9, and then at the night, every different times, I'm bringing in guys and kids, and everybody goes. Tonight we're going to have one from 7 to 9, back on this same Zoom phone number. And you guys come play. It's a real kick, and I'm doing that to get my triathlon, get myself in order for my triathlon. You going to do it, Amy?
Between 7 and 9, I'm usually in a bedtime battle, so we'll see.
Well, here's an idea. I had my niece and nephew last night, one's 7 and one's 3, and they were in the dance party. And so they just knocked it all out and then crashed.
That may be a good idea.
Just a possibility. All right. You guys take great care. More later. Again,
thank you, Dr. Beth.
Thank you so much for showing up. Bye.
Bye.